a great pleasure to introduce you to a new friend, Ofer. And I heard him speak not too long ago. I gave a presentation and I was very moved because I have been studying Kabbalah for many, many, many years and also modalities of healing. And I was particularly struck by the clarity with which Ofer presented how he was healed and how he heals as a result of it. So, a little more about his background. He's a transformational healer, mentor, and guide who specializes in shamanic energy work, addressing the physical, emotional, and spiritual layers of being. He has more than a decade of experience, and he blends ancient wisdom, the mysticism of the Kabbalah, and shamanic practices, helping clients resolve deep-seated issues and transform their lives at the core. He was born and raised on a kibbutz in Israel. He served as an army commander in the Israeli army and studied philosophy and math before moving to the US. He studied computer science at UCLA, and then for more than 20 years, he worked as a senior manager in IT at Wells Fargo. Now, might ask, with that kind of a background, how did he come to be a healer and a shaman? He began to explore alternative healing modalities after having been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2011. As he saw his symptoms dissipating, he began to study energy healing with several masters. He eventually overcame his MS, and now he uses his personal experience and his personal story and extensive training to guide others through profound healing. I'm going to let him tell you more about the alchemical flame and how he helps clients, but his mission is to empower individuals to transcend their limitations. He works with people on working with themselves. He doesn't bring healing, he facilitates healing. And he gets his clients to cultivate a deeper connection with their inner selves and the universe. His clients have reported significant breakthroughs and newfound peace and a renewed ability to handle life's challenges. Whenever I hear a Hebrew name, I lived in Israel for 10 years and I speak Hebrew. The first thing I do is I ask myself, what does their name mean in Hebrew? And in Hebrew, most of the names have a significance other than just a name or referring to a biblical character. And in Ofer's case, Ofer means deer. And it's a young deer. And it's very, very evocative. It often represents beauty, gentleness, and a sense of natural grace. And the name Neve means someone who communicates beauty and divine comfort. So as you're listening to Ofer this morning, you can remind yourself of what his name means. Someone that communicates and conveys divine comfort. And I think he perfectly fits his name, Neve, Ofer Neve. Okay, take it away, Ofer.
Thank you, Ruth. Wow, I didn't even remember the meaning of my name until you reminded me. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to be with you today. And the topic of the conversation is healing, transforming suffering into clarity, and hopefully also into purpose. And it all, for me, as Ruth already told you, it all started in a very different track of life. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I have been for many years in information technology in the corporate world. I did not expect, well, I knew that something else is possible, is available. I didn't know what it was. I just had a feeling that there is more to life, and I had to apparently go through a hard lesson to be forced or force myself or rediscover that in every suffering there is also an opening, an opportunity to learn something new and hopefully to evolve. And for me, it was the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis of MS, where I was told that there is no way to heal from it. You only can manage the symptoms, and it's eventually going to grow worse. And I said to myself, as I often do when I have challenges, well, I can't just take it as a verdict. And I started to listen to all sorts of spiritual teaching, spiritual healers. I went on a year-long program that taught me a lot about seeing myself in different ways. Eventually, the symptoms subsided. Eventually, that was in 2020, uh, I stopped all my medications. And last year I was told I no longer needed the annual MRIs. And so I consider myself done, complete with that lesson. And in around 2017, I said, well, maybe it's enough just about me. Let's see how I can help others, because obviously something very significant happened that led to my symptoms and even underlying causes to subside. So I studied with a shamanic teacher for several years, and I became a practitioner. I really started with multiple teachers, and everything that I do, I don't consider myself inventing, much more of standing on the shoulders of others that helped. But what I maybe 2 years ago started to look at is, okay, now I help a lot of people, and I help with energy healing, and I help with other methods. And what is it that I do? And I came up with a method that I call the alchemical flame, that you can discover more about in at it's called alchemicalflame.com. One word, alchemicalflame.com. You can discover more about what is it all about. But I'll tell you a little bit in a little bit about it. So, like I said, the what I facilitate, what I show people who work with me is how to take the suffering and transform it into clarity and into purpose. So, I mean, how do we suffer? Why do we suffer? How does it come about? And what is in it at obviously we all know physically and mentally what it means, but when we take it a few layers apart, where does it come from? We all come, before we come into the world, we have been a part of what I call the oneness, the divine, something bigger than us. You can call it God, or you can call it the universe, whatever it is. At some point, we separate, and the reason we separate is because we want to know ourselves as individuals in separation, and the divine it has ways to experience everything through co-creations of individuals with the divine. And so we start as oneness, and then creation wants to know itself in all ways, and we become individuals that experience ourselves truly in all ways through the good and the bad, through the light and the dark, through hopefully constant evolving through life lessons. We also meet others, other souls that help us evolve through sometimes love, sometimes tough lessons. And I want to talk about the tough lessons here of suffering. And so we have other souls that before we even came into this life, we already have agreement with, many primary players in our life that will come at some point into our life and will trigger us so that we can learn lessons. So what happens when somebody triggers us is we feel that they did something to us, especially when we don't have the deeper learnings. We're just taking it as they did something to us. What actually happens is they actually brought something that was already in us to the surface. And so, for example, when there is an anger inside of me as a result of somebody, quote unquote, judging me, this thing that came up in the form of anger was already in there before. And the trigger, all it did is brought up a layer that was there before that happened in the past that perhaps it's time to tackle. And it's not, I don't want to make it about thoughts. Thoughts are great. Our brains obviously are thinking for a reason. And that's not what I'm talking about primarily. What primarily I'm talking about is emotions and feelings that are coming up from our stores of memory. And when these feelings come up, they're coming up because we haven't felt them, because we repressed, suppressed, escaped. There's a wonderful book of David Hawkins called Letting Go that explain, among other things, the mechanisms of what happens to feelings and emotions when we suppress, repress, escape. And I think suppressing something is consciously not wanting to deal with it. Repressing is unconsciously, before you even know that you've done it, you already push the emotion without dealing with it into some unconscious layer that you're not gonna even know that it's there. But it will come. It's the most unfortunate moments to trigger us or to remind us that why am I not done with this emotion? Why am I feeling blocked? And so all this is inside of us because we have not felt it. This all feelings are, all emotions are energy frequencies, are vibrational frequencies inside of us that have been accumulated. They're different frequencies, and that's why we give them different names. So, if you look at the primary feelings, which are anger, sadness, joy, fear, disgust, and maybe surprise, they have all sort of sub layers to them. They're there to be felt. So let's talk a little bit about trauma. When when there is a real threat or perceived threat on us, we have a stress response. We have perhaps a fight flight response that is throwing us off or putting us into a energy conservation mode, and so all the unnecessary operations of the body stop or slow down, and we go into readiness state, whatever we choose to do. When the trauma, when the perception of the danger has passed, we as human beings do not always know how to let this trauma be released and go. we hold on to the trauma. And where other animals might shake off the feelings, the emotions, the stress, the physical stress, we don't. So what do? We suppress, we repress, and we literally build these energy bubbles in the body that are the trauma, that are surrounded by energetic, again, you can think of it as a bubble that is in the body. It's in the body, or it's in the subtle energy body around the body. And you can think of it as a bullet that entered the body. For example, if somebody threw a stone at you, that would be a physical trauma that entered like a bullet in the body, and then maybe it's still lodged in the body. Maybe there is an exit wound, but it's there. It's surrounded. It also attracts all sorts of possibly energy interferences into it. So it will attract um, vibrationally things that are resonating on the same frequency. For example, if the trauma is fear, it will attract more fear energy into it, and that could be family traumas, so generational trauma. It could be past life trauma, and it could be other dark energies that are here and just seeking sort of mirroring energy, and they're being attracted magnetically to similar energies. And so that's what trauma bubbles are. And what I help people do is identify them and opening them, clearing them, and letting them go. And also, because at the inside of these trauma bubbles, there are all these trapped emotions and feelings. The way to let them go, there are two distinctions here. One is it might be yours. In other words, it's something that has been in you for a long time, and it's time to really feel your feelings so that they can leave the body. That's how feelings leave the body. When you don't deny them, when you don't argue with them, when you don't try to change them into something else, but when you authentically feeling them and you go into just it is what it is, and then they can leave the body. And some feelings are truly not ours. They're in our body, but they might be in our body because something else. It could be what we call an entity, which is another soul that has somebody who died, has not left yet, has not left yet, did not go into the light, did not go into the karmic cycle of into another life, and is still here for whatever reason. And so they might come into the body resonate to someone who resonate on the same level of, say, fear or anger or happiness sometimes, but that's not usually what happens, because usually when somebody is in happiness, they just move on. They don't stay here. And so if it's not ours, you can ask, is this my feeling or is it not my feeling? If it's not my feeling, we just what we call clear it. We release it out of the body, but we don't need to feel it because it wasn't ours to begin with. There's the way to know that something that is not you is inside of you. One indication is if a feeling is disproportionate to what actually happens. So if something feels like, why am I so afraid, or why am I so angry? I mean, this was a small thing. Why am I feeling this huge amount of energy of anger inside of me? It is possible that there is something in you that is helping you, that is amplifying your anger, and therefore, you feel out of proportional anger in you. And if it's yours, feel it. If it's not yours, just clear it, release it. These are methods that I teach. Uh, they're they're there are many things anyone can do, we can do for ourselves. So I actually give a 7-week class that is teaching you how to go into what I call the 5 realms of the alchemical flame, and release whatever it is that needs to be released and change whatever you want to change. So as part of working with what's inside of us, we can think of it as healing, which is like releasing what is no longer needed, and and manifesting or attracting to us what it is that we want. These are the two primary things that we work at when we work through these five realms. And so let me tell you a little bit about the work that I do, because after working as a healer for several years with energy healing, that is shamanic based and also other modalities, I asked, what is it specifically that I do? And then I created these concepts of five realms that we work with. So first, just know that there is this flame or spark in each of us. And I'm thinking of it as in the chest, and you might think of it wherever your center is. Might be somewhere else in the body. But it is a spark of light or a flame of light that is what I call divine, because it is eternal, it's infinite, there is no time or space with it, and it brings us what we need, and it is this aspect of us that is always connected to this thing that is bigger than us, that I call the divine. And it is, you can say, your divine aspect. It is what's in you that I show you how to remember, how to reconnect to. Because when we separated, one of the things that happen is we forget. We forget who we are, what we are, and then it becomes buried under the layers of limiting beliefs, of trauma, of all sorts of emotions that are blocking us from seeing what and who we really are. And so this flame is your first way of connecting to who you are. Let me just experientially, for like 1 minute, just experience this. Just imagine that, or just know, or imagine, if you can't bring yourself to, or if you can't really feel it, just imagine that you're feeling it. But there is this spark or flame in the center of your body, somewhere, wherever the center is. And notice that when you connect to it, when you see it, when you feel it, it grows. It's not burning, even though it's a flame. And if, when you feel the flame, you also breathe deeply, when you breathe in, your breath brings to you what you need. And when you breathe out, your breath releases what you don't need, which might be toxic or might be something that has been completed and you don't no longer need it. And the flame is your reminder, your connection to somebody or to something that is outside of you, but that is one with you. It's your way to remember that you are divine because you have a part of the divine in you, and also that you are linked to the divine and to everybody else. For example, to everybody else here on Zoom, and of course to everybody else in the world. You are linked, even if we have this memory of separation. We're always linked. And because we are linked, somebody else's problem becomes our problem. And because of that, when we solve our problems, we also solve somebody else's problem. And vice versa. When we solve somebody else's problem, we always get a part of the solution in ourselves as well. So from that experiential start, we go visit different realms. The realm of the heart is a place where there is an initial, a primary soul wound, the soul wound of separation. And I love to work on that wound. I also love to bring people into their heart, and it's not necessarily the physical heart, but I like to see it as in that location. So I bring your awareness in the location of the physical heart, but then we go into another dimension in the physical heart that is called the sacred space of the heart. And that is based on teaching of somebody called Dranvalo Melchizedek. And in there, we work through the heart chakra and through other means, the release of the 6 or 7 primary limiting beliefs and any other related beliefs. So any belief really that is becoming a block, because what happened is you experience through your family system or through a past life or through something that happens to you, um, experiences that sort of keep on proving to you, create a pattern that is persisting in your life, that is a block, there is a wall to evolving. Uh, they result in limiting beliefs that are sitting in your awareness, and some of them are sitting in your unconscious, but affecting, it's like programs that are affecting our behavior and let us, and we ask, why can't I get over this? Or why can't I do what I want? That's why. And so beliefs like I'm not worthy, or I'm not deserving, or I'm not good enough, or I'm simply not good, I'm bad, or a belief that is very primary, I'm separate from creation, or I'm separate from everything. So I feel forsaken. I'm not lovable. These are core beliefs that sit there. We don't always look at them, but they affect us greatly. And so we learn to identify them, and we also learn to release them energetically through the heart realm, through the work that we do in the heart realm. And there's several techniques. We also look at emotions and feelings that are here, grief, sadness, and feelings. Uh, you might you might hear others can be lodged in different parts of the body. I love to work with the chakra system and with other systems too. But for example, grief might be lodged in your lungs, and you might actually feel it um, suppressing your ability to fully breathe. And anger might be in your liver, and sadness might be in your kidneys. And uh, the location is important. It's not the only important things, but we do work with whatever feelings are. Here's another interesting thing about feelings. When you feel your feeling, in fact, let's do this exercise now. Just think of something that bothers you. Doesn't have to be, like the biggest problem in your life. Just think of something that bothers you and go into the story of it. Okay, so what happened? Who did this? Who did this to whom? And it really triggers you. So just feel that feeling, this initial feeling that you feel now. Might be feeling judged, might be feeling sadness or anger or righteousness or feeling stuck, whatever it is. Be in that feeling, feel that feeling. Just let yourself feel this feeling without trying to stop it. Just feel this feeling. And notice that when you feel this feeling, it might present itself as the feeling, but then once you're in this feeling, there might be another feelings, another emotion that comes from underneath. So if you felt anger, there might be a new feeling that comes underneath the anger once you sit in anger. And it might be sadness. And you sit in the new emotion and you feel that one. And you'll discover that if you, at some point, stop telling yourself the story and just feel the frequency, the energetics of the feeling, there will be another feeling that will come up every time you stay in the feeling. Because what we're doing is we're starting from the surface feeling that we're conscious of, and eventually we're coming into the feeling that we are suppressing that will come up when we let it by feeling our feelings. And usually it comes into feelings of grief, separation, to some deep held limiting beliefs that are stopping us or keeping us apart from ourselves. And so that's what we work on in the heart, is to connect to these feelings. And sometimes you just feel the feelings and they're gone. And sometimes because these feelings might be somebody else's feelings that you just took in because and I have a uh, strong gut feeling about that most people on this call tend to absorb other people's feeling because of compassion, because we want to help others, and because our way to help others is to feel what they feel, and we can register what they feel, but we don't have to bring their feelings into our body, but we just do because that's what we learned. And so, and so that's what we do in the heart realm, is release feelings that are ours and clear feelings that are not ours, and release and clear belief systems and release and clear the primary soul wound of separation. Then there is the shadow realm where we work on trauma and we discover the hidden traumas and the traumas that we remember and the core where traumas are coming from, because traumas sometimes we feel that it happened in our childhood, but we don't remember when. And sometimes they happen when our mom is pregnant with us. Because think about it, we are in our mom's womb. We drink her chemistry, we hear and we feel her feelings through all this connection, biochemical connection. Why wouldn't we absorb traumas as well and strong emotions and beliefs? And so we do. And in addition, we through genetics, through epigenetics, we receive family traumas. And sometimes it's, you can call it a family curse, or perhaps there's something that manifests genetically and in a family, and every generation has a different expression of it. But that's not a verdict. It's a frequency, everything, including bodily bodily symptoms or manifestations of the body as chronic conditions, is at the core an energy, an information and frequency that hold something in place. Change the energy, change the frequency, and that thing can change. That's uh, what I learned through my own lessons about how the body hold on to something or how the body releases something, and it might be physical or emotional. So we're working with the traumas and with the forces that are attached to trauma, that are coming from the family, from past lives, sometimes from things like ETs or just other what we call dark interferences, which could be cording to other people, could be attachments, could be markers. A marker is a pattern of, you can think of it as a label that somebody or you put on you, and that says basically, treat me like this or treat me like that. This is an energetic pattern that is sitting on you, and you don't understand why everybody is treating me like that. But how that's what a marker is. And so it might be seen as a symbol, it might be seen as an X mark or something else. And there are ways to remove markers. There are ways to identify and remove holds with our energetic, which are energetic patterns that are holding you literally from moving forward. Family miasms, which are what I mentioned, the energetic patterns of families. Another realm, so there are 5 realms we covered, two. I'll go a little faster. Another realm is the magical realm, is what I call it. It's the realm where it becomes really clear that our imagination is not fake. It's not a delusion, but it could be an illusion. If you think of the difference between an illusion and a delusion, as illusion is something that can become real, and a delusion is something that cannot become real. And so if you know how to imagine in a certain way, what happens is, and this is esoteric traditions, when you imagine something, you in fact create something in what's called the inner realms. You can, for example, think of the astral realm, or in a Kabbalistic form, it'll be called a Thero Yesod. But in any case, what it is you created, even if it's for a fraction of a second, a different reality. And a lot of it is also discussed in quantum physics, where there's parallel universes, and so one reflects the other. When you imagine something repeatedly enough with intention, it becomes more and more real. That's real. That's why, for example, religions work so well in terms of shaping reality of people, because these ceremonies, rituals have been repeated over and over and over for hundreds or thousands of years. And so they are very real subtly. There is this subtle reality that is in an inner realm that is being reflected in how your life manifests in this realm. So that's what imagination does. And when you tap into a pattern, we see it all over now in happening in real time in the world, where people tap into fear. Fear create fear reality, and escalations of these fears into acts of hatred, violence, and fear. And it doesn't have to be like this. And so what I show you in the magical realm is how to change your reality by imagine, or by knowing, if you prefer that, what it is that you want in your life. And there are many layers to it that I'm not gonna get into now, that includes helping your physical reality by imagining your imagined reality, and it will reflect into your physical reality. And then there is the what I call da'at realm, which da'at is a word in Hebrew that means knowledge, and I see it as knowing. This is the bridge between the 3 realms that are already described and the divine realm. And this bridge to cross into the uh, divine consciousness or divine realm can be crossed by doing 2 things. Number one, surrender your egoic solution to the divine solution. So know that for every problem, there's already a divine solution. But when I'm holding on to control, when I want to control what my solution is, it can become a block. And so that's one. And two is accept that there is divine love, that you're never alone, that you are supported. And when you accept that, there is a release that happens, and it's like a bridge is unfolding in front of you. It's like unfolding the red carpet into the divine realm. Then when you are in the divine realm, it's not necessarily all fluffy there. You can choose your interactions in the divine realm. For example, you can go according to the book of Revelation. There are these 7 bowls of existence of plagues that can transform you in the divine realm into seven channels of light. And that's one way to experience existence on the divine realm. But the divine realm is where there is no polarity, and that's why you can actually go into these plagues from Revelation, because you realize that there is no polarity, that there is no duality, and because you surrendered on your way into the divine realm, you can start seeing yourself through the eyes of the divine as a divine being that is by birthright always deserving of love and has never been broken, and therefore doesn't truly need fixing, but healing is always available. And in fact, before you even ask, you receive, because time is not very important on the divine realm as well. And these are the five realms. So that's what I do when I teach. These are the realms that I work with when I heal. That these are the realms that I show people how to work through when I teach. I also want you to know that I have a bi-weekly free what I call group journeys, because what I do is journeys into something new every week that allows you to spend a little time with me in one of the realms where I show you how to navigate an issue. Last time, I don't remember what we've done. Maybe we worked on burnout, but we work on different issues or aspects. Sometimes we will work on purpose, on clarity, on on clearing suffering, different things. It's kind of fun and beautiful. And I also have an ebook that I wrote that is free. If you go to my website, you'll just find how to get the ebook through subscribing to my newsletter. But get the ebook; it will summarize a lot of what I talked about, and and Ruth, I don't know what else. What I don't know if we're open to questions or what else um, is
Ruth,
required.
Amy, is there time for questions?
sure, we have about 10 more minutes,
Oh, okay.
about 7 minutes, something like that.
Yes. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What did you discover about yourself with the multiple sclerosis? How do you understand that now?
So for me, what I discovered and I think that multiple sclerosis for me, and I'm saying not to me, but for me, was was something that happened when I was in the depth of corporate, let's say, fight, flight, competition, all sorts of living with very little sleep. So number one, I discovered really get sleep. I mean, I can't over stress this. Get sleep. And the other thing that I discovered is I made life too complicated. I really needed to simplify. Every time it was like a corporate thing that you just needs to outsmart somebody else. And what happens is things, instead of being simple or simplified, are becoming more and more complex to the point where everything is at the point where it's out of control. And so out of control leads to body out of control, leading to body starts fighting itself because it doesn't know who's friend and who's enemy anymore inside the body. And I also saw that things that are true about myself were thought about as weaknesses in the corporate world. So being kind or having a sense of looking at both sides as opposed to having a strong opinion was a weakness. And, I had to sort of, I actually continued to work in the corporate world for probably 7 more years after, being diagnosed and studying um, energy healing. But I started to see how things work in the corporate world that did not serve me and probably do not serve anybody else. And I'm feeling like I'm having like this circle now that is completing where I'll probably also start working with business people. I already do actually as individuals, but work also with corporations to show how you can bring more, people don't like the word love in a business, but there's nothing wrong about this word or about kindness or about openness to multiple opinions that was literally discouraged when I was in the bank. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Are there questions for Ofer? Comments? I've attended his biweekly sessions that he mentioned. They're wonderful. And the subject changes every time, but even though it's about someone else, it's always about us.
It's always about us.
Mhm.
And it's easy to feel like somebody did this to us. And this is, I mean, you open the newspaper, that's exactly what's going on. And if you ask yourself in this crazy world where everything is so chaotic, what can I do as an individual? It's sometimes hard to feel that I can do anything. But I know this circle is here because you guys already know that you can bring a difference as individuals and as groups. And I can feel the resonance of the energy here in this circle. But the way I like to think about it energetically is I change myself when I clear my limiting beliefs. Everything will start to transmute around me because I radiate that out. And that's my contribution, my immediate contribution as individual to anybody that I come in contact with, or even, and it doesn't have to be face to face, because the energy finds itself into where it's needed, where it's mostly needed.
Tim,
Excellent. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you very much, everyone.
wait.
Oh, okay. There's a question. Yeah.
Yes, love your discussion. Could you speak a little bit more about quantum physics and the entrainment? That's something that's really come up lately, and I'd like to just get your view on it, on how we're all connected. And
Yeah, there was this experience that I think is called a double slit or something like that,
yeah, yeah,
where particles were sent through one or two slits, and it was looked at how they affect the end result. And because of that, without getting into the nature of the experiment, uh, it became clear that uh, there are probabilities. There are probabilities instead of certainties of how particles will behave. And sometimes they behave as particles, and sometimes they behave as waves. And so they move between different quantum states. And esoteric traditions have known that for millennia, right? That there are these different universes, different realities of existence, where sometimes particles, sometimes waves. For example, there is this light that I use in healing that is virtual light, that is literally these particles, waves, changes of state that present potentiality and possibilities. And so if you work with virtual rays, you can open up possibilities because different realities, different possibilities. And you can in what I call the magical realm, and actually take people into what I call the inner landscape. It is like you'll see desert, trees, forests, mountains. These are the representations in another realm, and that's equivalent to the quantum physics or to multiple universes, but this is the equivalent of the body. Fix the blocked river, fixed the forest that has overgrowth, and you change the body in this reality. And that is actually something that has been known for a long time. And so quantum physics just starts to show that these things are not just imagined, they're also manifesting at subatomic particles. And I don't know that I can get in more depth into it, but this is how it works. You have multiple realities, and you have more than one. You have in esoteric, you have the emotional realm, which is the astral body or the astral plane, but you also have the mental or the causal. You also have the spiritual, and in different traditions, you might have 7 bodies or you might have more. And so all this is fascinating, but it's more and more proven that it's not all just in somebody's delusional imagination, but is also in physical reality.
Thank you so much. Very nice. And if you'll just send your ebook and your website to the Mastery Circle, and Mary Grace will share that with everybody here. And a big round of applause for Ofer today. And uh, excellent information.
And thank you, Amy and Mary Grace and Ruth and everybody here for inviting me and for listening.
Okay, very good. Okay.